Of course, we started last Sunday with general updates. And I think that is the place to start. We're going to talk about money today, but I wanted to start with general because I always want you to see that money can create life change and impact. Money is just money. Who cares if you have money just to have money sitting in a bank account? Whoop-de-doo. But when you can see, okay, people are being reached, and people are being evangelized, and people are being edified, and people are being discipled, and there's more students being impacted at the academy, and look, there's 100 or 77, 200 people that are saved, and there's 50 people being baptized. All those things matter, and it helps you understand the impact that the dollars have. But I do think that we owe it to you all to regularly, as a church, just tell you where we're at financially, because you want to know. That's a very normal, natural question, especially when we're in the middle of kind of a capital campaign and some building projects and those sorts of things. So here's where we're at with money. Normal giving. This is one of our funnels. It's our primary funnel of funds that flow in here. That is up 6%. And I'm looking at our fiscal year. So our fiscal year does not start in January. Most churches do it that way, that it syncs up with the calendar year. Because we have an academy, it just makes a lot of sense for us to start our financial year in August. And so from August till now, if you look year over year, we're up about 6%. 6% isn't like huge or massive, but it's really healthy considering A, an economy that isn't the greatest in the world, and B, the capital campaign that we're in the middle of. In the back of every pastor's head, when you do a capital campaign, you're always worried that people will rob Peter to pay Paul. It's just a natural thing that you worry about. And so you're always looking like, is that happening? And best we can tell, that is not happening. And not only is there a lot of money coming in other funnels, but in this one particular funnel, that actually is on the rise as well. So we're grateful for that. In relationship to our capital campaign, we are a little ahead of schedule still, which is good news. We received a little over $750,000 this last year for our capital campaign, which puts our total received over the span of about 2 years at $2.9 million. There's still a couple million left to come in, but the majority of it actually has come in up until this point. And we had created kind of a schedule of funds when we thought they would come in. And so far, we continue to be ahead of pace, which once again is good news, that we're about $100,000 ahead of schedule in that particular funnel. We also became debt-free this year. If you remember, we celebrated that in September. We've been working and aiming at that for years now, and to be able to have that moment where we could say the debt is officially retired was a beautiful moment. We have done as we promised you we would. We're taking those funds that we would normally pay the bills, and we're not taking those and just like using them however we want. We're setting them aside so that we can save those funds for our construction projects that we have that are staring us in the face. So even over the last 4 months or so, as we've done that, there's been an extra $100,000 that I'm not including in that $2.9 million I just said a minute ago. There's extra money kind of that we're paying to ourselves right now that will help us get these projects done. We also hit our Missions Month goals. If you remember in October when we had Missions Month, we had what we felt were two pretty aggressive goals. One was to have the biggest month of donors that we've ever had. We have more donors than any month prior in the history of our church, which we did. And then we also wanted to get about 10% more into our missions account than we had last fiscal year. Both of those happened. So here's the headline. We as a ministry have kind of 3 direct funnels where funds come in. One is our general giving. One is our capital campaign funnel, which is a temporary funnel, but it's still there right now. And then one is our missions. And when you look at each of them individually, they're all trending upward and they're all in a healthy spot. And so when you put all those together on the whole, it creates a healthy picture. Here is what is in the bank right now. If you would go, Scott, to the slide that has just the money totals, we always try to give you just bare bones numbers. There's $1.4 million in the bank right now. Of course, we expended a big chunk of money back in September when we paid off our debt. So that was close to 3 million back then, but we're at 1.4. There's in the account right now that can be spent. We've already put a lot into missions. We've already paid off our debt. We've already done our live stream. I'm going to talk about all those small projects next week. But there's almost $900,000 sitting there in our above and beyond account. We have $100,000 or so that's restricted for just little odds and ends projects that I won't get into, but there's always some version of our bank account that is restricted and set aside for a reason. And then there's $444,000 that are available for us to spend on projects or on missions or as a rainy day fund, whatever we want. So that's kind of the picture right now financially, which is a good spot as we enter into 2024. We're in a good spot and things are trending the right way is the bottom line. The fifth and final update that I'll give you is in relationship to something we told you about in September, and we're gonna ask for your help and your prayer on this. We mentioned in September that we were applying for a grant that awards monies to churches to build sanctuaries. And not only have we applied, there's a couple different rounds for this grant. They're at the final round, and we've made it into that. Come to find out, I didn't know this at the time, but there were 149 churches that applied for this grant. If you put together all of the money that was requested, they were requesting about $150 million. 19 churches have made it to the final round, of which we're one, and the total requested is about 20 million. So there's 19 churches that are like, grant people, can you give us $20 million in total? And they have $10 to $12 million to give away this year that they will give away to churches. What that means basically is that there's roughly a little bit better than a 50% chance that we would be awarded this grant. We will know within a month what happens there, and we'll be sure to keep you updated. If it's a yes, we're gonna praise the Lord and be very grateful, because it would be a huge boost and would really help us tackle some projects. If it's a no, we're not gonna be crestfallen. We're gonna keep going, and we're gonna trust the Lord, and we're not dependent on that, but sure, it would be great. It would be really helpful. So my request to you is that you would pray for this. And I do understand that there are other churches praying as well, and how does God decide, which church he says no to and which one he says yes to? I don't know. But do be praying for this. I think that's a healthy exercise for us as a church family, because it would be amazing to take a capital campaign of almost $5 million and then to put another 1.25 on top of it. It would go, as you could imagine, a long way. So more to come on that, but our headline for this update is that things continue to trend in the right way in a general sense and in a financial sense, and how those funds now have a bearing on the small projects. There's 6 or 7 small projects that we wanted to do with our capital campaign. Most of them are done, and we'll give you the update on the small ones next week. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll give you the update on the big construction projects and breaking ground and the new auditorium, those sorts of things, which we're excited about, but we'll give them to you 2 weeks from today. So I'm gonna cut it there and leave it there. I always tell people, if this somehow generates more questions than answers, A, I probably did something wrong, so my apologies. But B, questions are welcome. We would love for you, call the church office, talk to the finance office, bend to my ear, whatever. We're happy to answer any questions that we can, but feel like we want you guys to know kind of where we're at and some milestones and what's happening behind the scenes.